My brother said, "Seats are reserved for real family," then handed me a takeout box while they toasted my niece's promotion. But when the $3,200 bill arrived, they sent the waiter to me. So I smiled and said, "I don't pay for strangers." I, 32M, got a text from my brother around 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. My niece had just been promoted to senior associate at her law firm, and they were having a family dinner at Romano's that Saturday to celebrate. Romano's wasn't just a random restaurant. It was the place our grandfather used to take us for birthdays when we were kids, and the spot where we celebrated every big family moment for the past 15 years. I showed up 20 minutes early, wearing the navy suit I had bought just for special family events. The hostess walked me through the usual path, white tablecloths, dim lights, everything looking familiar, and took me toward the back where we always Saturday. But as soon as I reached the table, I noticed something wasn't right. My brother was standing there, carefully placing name cards like he was planning a wedding. His wife was nearby, giving instructions to their teen son as he moved chairs around. My niece was sitting at the head of the table, wearing a cream blazer, smiling as my parents, who had flown in from Phoenix, congratulated her. Then I noticed it. There were only 8 chairs around the table that usually had 10. 8 place settings, when there should have been 9. My brother looked up when he saw me. His face went from focus to something I couldn't quite understand. He walked toward me slowly, holding a white takeout container. He told me the reservations were finalized, and the seats were reserved for real family. Then he handed me the box and said I could eat in the hallway or somewhere else, but they needed the seats for people who actually mattered. His words hit hard. I just stood there, holding that warm box of food, watching everyone sit down like nothing was wrong. My mother looked over for a second, then looked away. My father just sat there, staring at the menu like he was trying to avoid seeing me. I asked him what he meant by real family, trying to keep my voice steady. His wife jumped in before he answered. She said I should know by now, that they had been patient with me long enough, but it was time to face the truth. I didn't really contribute to the family. I missed my nephew's soccer games, skipped half their invites, and never offered to help with expenses or events. My niece didn't even look at me. This was the same niece I had helped with algebra for 3 years. The same one I drove to job interviews last spring when her car broke down. I looked around one last time, at the people I had shared holidays with, grieved losses with, celebrated birthdays and promotions with. My brother pointed toward the hallway and said there was a spot near the restroom where I could sit and eat quietly, so I wouldn't disturb the celebration. 23 years of family dinners, and I was being sent away with a takeout box. I walked out with whatever dignity I had left. The hallway was narrow, a little dark, and smelled like cleaning products. There was a small bench near the restrooms. I sat down and opened the container. Chicken parmesan with pasta on the side, the same thing I always ordered at Romano's. Through the archway, I could hear them laughing, toasting, glasses clinking, and my dad telling some story about my niece's first day of law school. I was part of that story. I was there for all those moments. But now, I wasn't even worth a chair at the table. I ate slowly, not really tasting anything, just going through the motions. A couple walked past me, giving me that look, like they felt sorry for me but didn't want to say anything. A man in a suit, sitting alone in a restaurant hallway, while the real celebration happened just a few feet away. After about 45 minutes, I threw the box away and got ready to leave. That's when I saw the waiter walk over to their table with the check. I was heading toward the exit when I noticed the waiter walking toward their table holding the bill in a black leather folder. My brother's confident face changed as soon as he opened it. He looked at the number, then showed it to his wife. Her expression went pale almost instantly. They started whispering, taking out their phones, probably checking their bank accounts. A minute later, my father leaned over to look at the total too, and I could actually see him laugh, but not in a funny way. It was that kind of disappointed, dry laugh that tells you something's very wrong. A few minutes later, the waiter returned, looking slightly confused, and my brother began explaining something to him while gesturing toward the hallway, toward me. That's when everything made sense. The fancy dinner, the expensive wine, the celebration at Romano's. They had planned the whole thing expecting someone else to pick up the check. That someone being me. Just like always. I had covered tabs before, helped with bills when no one asked, took care of unexpected expenses. All because I thought that's what family did. So I stood near the entrance as the waiter walked up to me, holding the folder with the check. He was polite, even apologetic, and said there had been a mix-up. The gentleman at the table had said I would be taking care of the bill, which was now $3,200. That included premium wines, a special anniversary menu, and probably every add-on possible. I smiled at him, honestly, the first real smile of the night, and told him thank you for bringing it to me, but there had been a misunderstanding. I said, I'm not dining with them. I ate alone in the hallway. Then I added, I don't pay for strangers. He looked confused at first, his eyes flicking back toward the table where everyone had gone quiet, watching us from a distance. My brother was half standing, looking like he didn't know what to do next. I told the waiter that the people at that table had made it very clear I wasn't part of their family tonight. And if I wasn't family, then I surely shouldn't be expected to pay for their celebration. He nodded slowly as he realized what was happening. He thanked me for letting him know, then turned and walked back toward the table, this time with purpose in his steps. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I walked outside into the cool evening air, got in my car, and drove off. As soon as I turned onto the street, my phone started buzzing. Text after text, one call after another. My brother was demanding that I come back and pay. My sister-in-law called me childish and immature. My mom messaged me saying we should all talk like adults and handle this as a family. But the most surprising message came 2 hours later, from my niece. She apologized for not saying anything earlier and said she felt uncomfortable about the whole situation. She asked if I could please help them just this one time, and promised that things would be different going forward. I replied that I appreciated her message, but my help, especially my money, was reserved for real family. And since they'd made it clear I wasn't in that group, my wallet was off limits too. The fallout didn't take long to start. By Sunday morning, my phone had 17 missed calls and over 40 text messages. My brother left a voicemail that went back and forth between yelling and begging, telling me they had to put the entire bill on credit cards that were already maxed out. My sister-in-law sent me a bunch of messages talking about how their finances were a mess and that the dinner had been an investment for my niece's career. They'd even invited her boss and some coworkers, hoping to make a good impression. Instead, they spent the night making excuses for why they couldn't afford the meal they ordered. My parents called me on Monday. My dad said that blood is thicker than water and that families fight, but eventually forgive. My mom said I was being harsh to people who loved me. I asked them where that love was when I was eating alone in a hallway. They had no answer. The silence on the line lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. Then Tuesday brought something I didn't expect. My niece called me during her lunch break. I could tell she was hiding in a bathroom or a supply closet, talking quietly so no one could hear her. She told me something that made my stomach turn. The whole thing had been planned. Not just the dinner, the exclusion, the expectation that I would pay. It was a lesson, she said. A lesson my brother wanted to teach me about commitment and responsibility to the family. Their original plan was just to not give me a seat, but still count on me to pay the bill when it came. My brother had told everyone that I'd come through like always, that even if I complained, I'd cover it in the end. She said she didn't agree with it, but she didn't have the courage to say anything. Now she regretted it. She also said their credit card debt was starting to hurt her financially, since her parents could no longer help with her student loans. She asked me if I could just help one more time. I told her I understood her position, but that what happened showed me something I hadn't seen before, that the only thing keeping me in the family was my money. And now that they'd cut me out, they'd have to live with what that meant. 3 weeks later, I found out what the real cost was. My brother's boss had been at that dinner, and watching the bill drama unfold, followed by arguments and panic, left a bad impression. What was meant to show off a united, successful family ended up showing chaos and poor planning. My niece called me again, crying. Her boss had started pulling back from her. A few networking events she was supposed to attend had quietly been canceled. Her big promotion now felt like a burden instead of a celebration. Her mom, my sister-in-law, had started working part-time at a retail store to help cover the credit card payments. Her brother was furious that their spring break trip got canceled. The whole house was full of tension and resentment. Everyone was blaming everyone else. My parents tried to step in again. This time they drove 8 hours to visit me in person. They sat in my living room and talked about family history, about what Grandpa would have done, about forgiveness and legacy. I let them talk. Then I told them that our grandfather would never have locked a family member out of a celebration, handed them a takeout box, and then expected them to pay for it. He always said respect went both ways, that you don't get loyalty without giving it first. My dad agreed that they had handled things poorly, but said the punishment didn't fit the mistake. My mom suggested a payment plan, something small, just to ease the burden without making me feel used. I told them it wasn't about money anymore. It was about the fact that they had all looked at me that night and let me sit alone in a hallway like I didn't matter. They had made their choice that night. I was just making mine now. 2 months after that night at Romano's, I got a letter in the mail. A real handwritten letter which honestly surprised me. It was from my niece. She had moved out of her parents' house and into a small apartment closer to her job. She said the pressure and drama had become too much, and she needed space. In the letter, she wrote about growing up and seeing how I was always the one who helped, the one who came through, but still somehow always felt like a guest instead of a member of the core family. She said she didn't realize how wrong that was until that night. Inside the envelope, she had included a check for $200. A small start to repay me for all the help over the years. She wrote that she understood why I drew the line. Even though it hurt, she respected it. And she asked if maybe we could try rebuilding something. Just me and her, away from all the family drama. That Saturday, I went to visit her apartment. We talked for hours. About the past. About things we'd seen but never said. She told me about conversations that happened behind my back. How my contributions were treated like duties, not gifts. How my absences were judged, but my presence was taken for granted. We agreed to start fresh. No expectations, no guilt. Just two people figuring out if they still wanted a connection. From there, we kept in touch. The rest of the family? I didn't hear from them. My brother told everyone I was dead to him, and that was fine with me. 6 months later, I got an invite to my nephew's graduation, but the return address was from my niece's apartment, not my brother's house. She said she was hosting a small celebration, one where everyone who actually supported him would be welcome. I went. It was awkward at first. My nephew didn't know if he was allowed to be happy to see me, but by the end of the night, we were laughing, sharing old memories, and planning a summer visit. My brother drove by during the party. He slowed down, looked up at the window, but didn't come in, just drove off. That night, as I helped clean up the leftover cake, my niece said something I'll never forget. She said, "Watching you walk away from Romano's was scary at first, but it showed me what boundaries really look like." I told her that real family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up, who makes space for you, who respects you, even when they don't agree with you. And sometimes, the most important thing you can do is say no, even to family, especially to family. The bill at Romano's was $3,200. But the cost of learning who my real family was, that was priceless. Hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories like this one.